Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Friday, August 23rd, 2024. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Friday, everyone. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll notice right now a little bit of a bounce back in overnight and pre-market trading, especially after the previous session's highly bearish finish to the day, outside day down, and showing signs of a day one rejection. Not so much in the ES as much as you're seeing a day one rejection in the NQ and also the YM, but clearly signs of rejection here at these highs. If you wanted to, you could still draw a 5-day compression for the week so far, especially after last week's stretch week. We had bullish price discovery in the previous week, a breakout, which is what we were forecasting. Heading into this week, we wondered out loud if we would get compression this week following last week's high range of expansion, and that's pretty much what we've gotten here heading into Friday's close, or Friday's RTH session. We do have Fed Chair Powell speaking 9 a.m. Central from Jackson Hole and the Jackson Hole Symposium. That's 9 a.m. Central Time, so the market will have all eyes on that. Keep an eye here on how the market responds after the RTH open. Do bears defend into morning strength? If so, we could be looking at this portion of the up move being an inverted checkmark day where we see a downward continuation. If we start to break through multiple day lows here, you start to open up a bit more pullback after the recent rally. So again, keep an eye on how the market responds here after the RTH open. Now, if we take a look here at the NQ, again, tech stretched a bit more than the S&P, especially behind heavy selling pressure from NVIDIA yesterday, from Tesla, from Amazon, Meta, a ton of chip-related stocks. Those all sold off in big fashion. You can see right here, outside day down as well against the 2-day range previous. You can see a 125+% day here, and right now we're seeing a little bit of a pullback to the breakdown point yesterday and into the previous session's midpoint. Again, if this is going to continue lower, this early pullback overnight and pre-market strength will be met with selling pressure. Bears will be looking to defend into the 19.8 level for a shot at extending the down move here to 19.4 or perhaps even below. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Is this a day one rejection here that's developing? If you look back over the last couple of months here, you can see we've seen several of these high range days. That was an outside day here, and you can see how prices responded and then led to another round of selling, another round of selling, another failed new high here with heavy selling pressure. This is not the magnitude that we had seen before, but it's certainly bigger than what we've seen here over the last couple of weeks. So is this a day one rejection that will lead to some pullback up ahead? Keep an eye on the previous session's midpoint and into the 19.8 level. Any pullback into that zone may be seen as a selling opportunity. Now, admittedly, the overnight and pre-market strength has been a bit more bullish than initially anticipated at yesterday's close. So again, you have to look for strong signs of rejection on these highs. Otherwise, we could be looking at a modest continuation back within the range. Fed Chair Powell will be very important at 9 a.m. Central. Now, crude oil is showing quite a bit of strength today. This thing is up nearly 2%, a big-time bounce back, a huge rejection of the key range low here at 72.5. We've talked about how 72s continues to be a major line in the sand, and on 2 rotations here, prices tested the 71.50s. Right here, a little bit of a double bottom, a bounce off the second standard deviation below VWAP, and we're seeing a bit of a move higher. This is something we talked about before. If 72 is going to hold, we could be looking at a rotation back to 76 and back toward 80, or even the top of the range at 82 up ahead. So this is a really good move at the moment. Already a stop run day and a continuation to the upside. Any pullback could be defended here as this thing continues to work its way higher at the moment. So very nice recovery off the 72.5. That could open up a rotation back towards 76.55, which is the midpoint of this key range. Looking at gold futures right now, this one's up 3/4% at the moment. Does it remain higher, or do we start to see some selling pressure back into the lower portion of this range, 2480 or below? We were looking for some pullback here after reaching new all-time highs here, as this market has seen some deep counter trend rotations. But right now, bulls continue to defend the rising bullish Pima trigger zone here. That bullish Pima trigger zone continues to remain intact between the 8 period Pima and the 21 period Pima. That is an uptrending slope here. Anytime you drop into it, you see it pulling back out of it. So very bullish still. Again, even if we were to see some pullback, you got to be cautious of fading gold right now, as it continues to prove itself within this bullish trend and continues to hit new all-time highs. So even after whatever pullback we get, the idea is that we likely see the next new high up above shortly. Looking at the YM put in a big strong rejection in the previous session, but ended up bouncing late in the day. You can see right here, bouncing late in the day. Today already above the previous session's midpoints. This one right here, the way it looks as though price wants to stay within the week's range. This has been a very narrow week of price action here for the YM, especially after it had the biggest range of expansion in the previous week. You had your 2-day compression to begin last week, and then right there, failed new low, outside day up, and that triggered a big continuation to the upside the rest of the week. It got our 1,000 point expansion target and then some, reaching as much as 1,300 points on that move, and now some compression here for this week. This is this week's trading right now, and then if you add to that Friday's compression here, you have yourself a 6-day compression, which could be building the energy for the next major move. So if we're looking at solely the YM here, this one looks like it's kind of in a holding pattern. You have a bit of an expanding range over the last several days, and we could be stuck in this range here into the weekend. Again, watching to see how prices respond after this morning strength. If it starts to see some selling pressure, we could be looking at an inverted checkmark move down. But as of right now, stuck in the range here for this market, building some energy. Let's go ahead and quantify this just for fun right now. If we look at this as a 6-day compression here, we're looking at the potential for a move of 1,700 points. 1,700 points up ahead, which is massive. And that would be the 125% target estimate. If we're just looking at averages here, it would average about 1,400 points on a 6-day range basis. So from this compression right now, if we stay this way into the end of the week, which means below that high and above this low, it could trade anywhere in here, and that estimate remains intact. We could be looking at least a 1,400 point move in the upcoming week of trading, maybe as high as 1,700 points. So this is huge right now. And again, if we were to fail back below these lows, that opens up a return back toward 40K and perhaps even lower into 39.5. That right there would be 1,500 points, 1,200 points from the breakdown point, but from the 4,100 highs here, 41,000 highs, that would be about 1,600 points. So again, there is definitely some room to run in the upcoming week for the YM. Let's take a look here at Bitcoin. Bitcoin continues to develop a very clear compression. You can see right here, this thing is compressed. It's trading toward the apex of this pattern. There's nowhere really left for this thing to go other than a breakout of some magnitude. Do we finally break above 62K and open up some upside back within the range, or do we see another shakeout leg and then try to recover? That's going to be the big deal to keep an eye on. As of right now, that's a ton of compression, and it's very reminiscent of what we've already seen before. Back here, we had this as a big-time compression candidate with the potential for a 10,000 point move, and it got almost exactly 10,000 points, a little bit more than that. And right here, we're seeing a very similar compression as well. Do we get another one of these transition days here? Huge breakout continuation here and rotate us back to 70K. That would be another 10,000 point move. So this is how it played out last time around in May. Very nice move. Do we get a similar breakout here up ahead? But similar compression nonetheless right now. So this thing building energy right now for a potential move to come. ETH likewise been compressing as well. It's up 2% right now, but that 2% looks very tiny within the current range. This thing also building up a ton of energy, very similar to what we saw back here in the same time frame of the Bitcoin chart. Right here, this thing rallied about 1,000 points to the upside, and we could be building a similar amount of range this time around. And this range right now compressed over the last 2 weeks, and you can even take it out a little farther than that. But if we can get a similar breakout here, we could easily be looking at a return back toward 3,400 and maybe even into 3,600 up above. So it could be somewhere between 800 and 1,000 points of range. So that's if we break this thing to the upside. Right now, when it comes to compressions, as you know, we could break to either side. All right, that will do it here for today's pre-market video. There is some big news coming up for the PivotBoss trading room here. We will be changing our trading room format coming up in the week ahead, so be on the lookout for big news from that. And as always, happy Friday. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.